Roll call.
Mayor Laura,
Present.
Vice Mayor Parsons,
Present.
Commissioner Landry,
Present.
Commissioner Vasquez,
Here.
Commissioner Warren.
Here.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for another day of life that you've given all of us. Thank you for another meeting where our city leaders can come together, collaborate, work together for the good of our community. Thank you so much for all the things that you've allowed them to accomplish as of late. And Lord, we don't take that for granted. Continue to give them creativity and passion and drive and vision and everything they need to enhance the quality of life here, to keep us safe and to do what they're doing. Lord, I pray that you would be with all of our servicemen and women. We just thought about Memorial Weekend, and so we pledge allegiance to that flag and have the freedom to do so because of them. So keep them safe and bless their families. Be with our first responders. Continue to use them to keep us safe and bless them. And Lord, I thank you for Jesus, who died on the cross and rose again so we could have eternal life. May we all place our faith in him and rely on him every day of our lives. Bless our city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 1, the awards, proclamations, and presentations. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 2, approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as printed.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Warren and a second by Commissioner Vasquez. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item number 3, the minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the May 14th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Second.
A motion by Commissioner Warren and a second by Commissioner Landry. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item number 4, items from citizens. Are there any items from citizens? Please approach. Rules of the commission. Any citizen desiring to address the commission shall be recognized by the chair, advance to the podium, state his or her name and address in an audible tone for the record. Presentation shall be limited to 5 minutes unless extended by a vote of the majority of the commission. The commission does not hear matters involving litigation or city personnel. The commission does not take action on subjects not on the agenda unless unusual or hardship conditions exist. Citizens may address the commission on agenda items as they are brought to the floor. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Devin Walker. I live on Road 14 out by Kismet. And I came here a year and 6 months ago or so. We were over at the other building. And I wanted to present a bid or sublease for the grazing grass. I'm just presenting a small portion of it. I know you guys already presented it or put it out for bid in February. And that was, it may have been forwarded on or so forth, because it's just through email, correct?
I'm sorry, say it again.
The bid for land leasing is just through an email network, correct?
Everything that goes out for bid is on the city's website.
Yeah. I do have 2 with me if you wanted to take a copy.
I think at this time, go ahead and present them to the city manager and our attorney so they can have a copy to have at. I know currently everything that we bid is now on the website,
Yes.
and we did put that out to bid on the website, correct?
Twice. First time we didn't get anything back. We got a text message from one person, so I rejected that. And we sent it back out for another 30 days, and that's when we got the Lauterbachs. Won the bid.
Okay,
And that one was printed in the newspaper back then.
okay. How long a term is that for?
2 years. But it's not auto renewing, like the old lease was, so January of February? February of 26 is when it'll, yeah.
Do we have anything for subleasing, allowing for him to do that? At this point, he can't
I
approach us
think
for
it's
2
prohibited
years.
unless consented to by both parties in writing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it was previously stated.
Yeah.
I didn't
Okay.
know if- I guess I didn't know the specific termination date of the previous, and, I knew on the previous contract, you guys signed it in September before, when I last talked at the meeting, and then, so I figure, so you must have moved the signage date, termination date, just because you put it out for bid in February.
Brad, I can't remember. I think you were the one that emailed me on that. Is that right? You remember what the date?
I know that was
My
like
email.
2 years ago.
But I do know that it was, like you said, I think it terminates in February of 2026.
Yeah.
Because the old lease did have an automatic renewal date on it, so
You know,
the previous lease would just, as long as he wanted to do it, he had it forever, and then we changed that, put it out for bid again. Same guy.
Yes.
Yeah, so the current lease expires March 31st of 26.
Okay,
thank you.
all right. Well, thank you.
You have his contact information, Brad?
I don't,
Okay.
I think,
For Louderback or for Devin?
For Devin.
Oh, okay.
Have you been talking with Dallas? Does Dallas have your information, sir? Dallas Ryan? Okay. Just reach out to Dallas Ryan at City Hall so he has your information, so then before that lease terminates, they'll put it out for bids again. And then that way you can know that it's out for bid, and then that way you can apply for it, at that point in time.
But see, I only wanna rent what's north of Cimarron, not the whole portion. It would be, with the existing landowners neighboring it, it'd be hard for me to cross, fences.
Okay.
I think I'd recommend having him speak to Dallas and then maybe getting connected with the current leasing and see if that's a conversation you can have with him. Because it's already been signed, correct?
Right, it's signed. There's nothing the city can do right now until we go to rebid it come, February 1st of the year of 2026, so.
But if he wanted to sublease a portion of it and everybody was agreeable to that, is that something that could be?
Well, the lease says it should not be sublet or assigned without prior written consent of the leaser. So,
Yeah, so it'd have to be agreed to by both the current tenant and the city in order for it to be subleased to a different entity.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
the potential's there, but I don't know about the current tenant, if that's even something that he'd entertain.
At this point, approach him, and if you need to, talk to Dallas to get those contacts, and if necessary, it'll be brought back to us at that time if there's an agreement. Okay?
and Dallas his office is at Arcalen, so he's out there, like between 7 and 5. So you can catch him out there about every day.
Okay, thank you. Any other items from citizens? Ms. Isaacs?
Hi, I'm Rita Isaacs, 406 Princeton, and congratulations to you on your award. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, I have not been here for a while, and so I'm going to say just good things tonight. First thing, for our city manager, I gave him a call. How long have we been griping about the flags not being up at the museum? And they had reunions here this weekend, still none. So I called our manager, and he took care of it. Today, the flag is still up. Is this something that's going to be attended every day? Or has anything, that's been an eyesore for everybody, not to have our flag up of all things.
yeah, I
So
would
we-
imagine every day but Monday when it's closed, because there's nobody to take it up and down.
Well,
days.
what, we have the fire department and the police department active 24 hours a day. Would there be any way that we could use one of them? Would they volunteer just to raise the flag?
Police chief's back there, I'll let you gripe at him. No, I'm kidding. No,
Okay.
I'll-
Anyway, that is very noticeable that we've got a big,
Kids here, we just stick a light on the building, we can light it. 24/7.
sure.
Yep.
I'd be happy for that. Make me very happy. Okay, the dog situation has definitely been better, except I think about half my neighborhood have pit bulls and big things. This can be terrifying, because we've been through all that before. But we have a lot of little dogs picked up. But the fact that you guys are trying now, you know, I appreciate that, instead of all the dogs over there. There was one other thing, the nuisance value. Is that just for like people's lots that they're not maintaining? Is that what that's been?
I'm sorry. the
I thought
nuisance-
there was something in the paper, what, a month or so ago, as a new ordinance for a nuisance, like people not taking care of the yards, junk.
We may have done an abatement on a nuisance property, maybe?
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, we-
that's right.
yeah.
Does that sound right? I think
Yeah.
we did something with an
We had
abatement
an
on the
abatement.
property.
Okay.
And it's been taken care of, but I think that one was on the north side of town.
I've seen one big improvement on way north on, yes, I appreciate that. Just one other little question. I am next to someone that has 3 huge dogs, 1 little dog. They do not mow the backyard. They do not maintain the dog's stuff. Is there anything I can do? I'm worried about the mosquitoes. And if it gets hot and rainy, it's not gonna smell too good. And I do not want to be offensive to them, if there's just any way,
Yeah, if you'll text me the address, I'll get it to code enforcement tomorrow.
okay. All right, that's it. You guys are doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rita.
Do we have any other items from citizens? Seeing none, do we have any, we'll move on to item number 5, items from groups. Do you have any items from groups? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 6, the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as printed.
I second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Vasquez and a second by Commissioner Landry. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed, same sign. 5-0, motion passes. Moving on to item number 7, legislative report from Watkins Public Strategies.
Hello, everyone. Jessica Lucas, Vice President of Watkins Public Strategies, and first time before all of you post-legislative session. As you know, we were retained last year to represent your interests in Topeka, and this was our first venture into that. We officially finished on April 30th, kind of. If you're following that at all, you know that we are waiting to hear when, not if, we are returning for a special session to discuss tax policy. But we did have a productive session, and I'm really excited to share with you some updates and talk through kind of what things looked like, field any questions that you have. I first want to thank Mayor Lara, Manager Varnado, and Ms. Maury for being really exceptional to work with this year and answering questions and helping us make sure that we understood things and were able to appropriately represent your interests there in Topeka. So it's kind of 2 buckets when you think about what it means to represent a client. There is one bucket of things that you do not want to happen, and we're going to talk about what we were able to make sure did not advance, that we recognize as not being in the interest of the community. And then there's, of course, the things that are really exciting. Those are the things that you hope are going to happen and that you're really leaning into trying to bring to fruition. So I would say to start, I think in general, you guys recognize the need to invest in representation because you wanted to make sure that Liberal had a higher profile in Topeka. And so as we think about what this last few months have meant, I definitely feel very good about the fact that Liberal has elevated its voice by virtue of having folks that were there talking about you and your community and things you needed. It was a little bit surprising. I don't know that I would have guessed when we were hired last year that part of how we were going to be leaning into the conversation at the State House would be on the issue of homelessness. But that indeed ended up being kind of a niche opportunity, if you will. So to give you some background, Governor Kelly made a recommendation in her budget when she announced the budget in January that included $40 million in money. It was intended to be match $1-for-$1 to help support homelessness infrastructure. And so when that announcement was made, we immediately engaged your city leadership around what does the need look like in Liberal. That conversation happened the whole session. We testified in a couple of different scenarios about what the homelessness looked like here in Liberal and the need for repairs on the building that you have now serving that population. We talked about the need for commercial kitchen expansion, the HVAC and roof upgrades, and that was very well received. The issue with that topic, however, was that other entities around the state have different needs, bigger needs, and some of that was not as well defined. So we were running with our request for dollars to help support that infrastructure need right up until the end. I was disappointed that it did not get across the finish line this year, though that issue is not going away and it's going to continue to be discussed, and I am hopeful that next year we will be able to secure the dollars that are needed here. And I'm happy to field more questions on that, but that ended up being one of the big ways that we were really leaning in. And then the second piece that I'm excited about making sure we work on next year has to do with a program called the Build Infrastructure Grant Fund. So when the ILJA, I believe, is the technical term for the infrastructure dollars that were passed by the federal government a couple of years ago, the state put some money into a bucket to help support cities and counties across the state who were making application for infrastructure dollars. There are other federal programs, though, that are out there that when Keeley is looking at making application, the state money isn't eligible as match for that. And so it was kind of a very last minute Hail Mary approach that, hadn't been as vetted as much as you would always like for something to be, but we pushed really hard to have language included in the budget that would allow the Build Grant Fund, which is a total of $200 million, that would allow that money to be matched with other funds. Unfortunately, the governor vetoed that language. So that tool is not in the toolbox this year. I have since spent some time with her team talking about, again, why we pushed for that to be included, why we were disappointed it was vetoed. I had several conversations with them leading up to the actual decision of a veto. And I do believe that there is interest there. They have a new person that's leading the hub, so really felt like they didn't want to overwhelm that person with additional opportunities. And we hope they're as committed as we are next year to seeing that broadened. But I think that should continue to be a focus of what we're doing because it will give you additional resources to tap into when you're making applications and less of your resources that have to be put up as a match. So those were kind of the two big pieces that were very specific to City of Liberal, though certainly everyone benefits as well. Of course, we saw the expansion announcement for Highway 54. There was a large project slated in the Kingman area, not near enough resources, I know, for this area specifically. This week, there is the regional expansion study is going to be published and will be out for bid. I've been driving today here, so I haven't checked to see if it's available yet, but I'll share that with the city manager as soon as that is live. It should go live this week. So then we'll begin the process of having that robust conversation that we've been promised by KDOT to really study and examine Southwest Kansas infrastructure needs and what highway expansion looks like, and continue to lean into the importance of Highway 54 and having that roadway expanded to hopefully 4 lanes from here to Wichita. One of the things I have found that's been a really compelling argument is talking about the fact that we do not have an east to west 4-lane in this part of the state. And when you're talking about Wichita and there not being a 4-lane on each side of that, suddenly people are like, oh my gosh, yeah, that doesn't make sense. So I think that's a powerful talking point among many others. Your truck traffic, as well as the woefully underinvestment in highway funding for this part of the state, are things we'll continue to lean into and push for. So those are some of the key components. I also want to just speak briefly, and then we'll field any questions you have. When we talk about things that are introduced in the legislature that we hope don't move to the end of the line, one of those this year was Senate Bill 522, and I know in your packet you should have received a lot of information about a lot of bills. I'm not going to go over all of that, but happy to talk about any of those, but we'll just speak to a couple of things. So 522 would create the crime of unlawful entry into the state of Kansas and require notification of federal immigration authorities upon arrest for such offense. So this was one of those immigration bills that certainly could cause a lot of issues and a lot of concern around the enforcement of that, implementation of that, et cetera, et cetera. And we had several conversations, and we're pleased to know that the Senate Judiciary Chair chose not to even have any hearings on that bill. So I was very pleased that our concerns were addressed. We also saw City of Liberal signed on to a letter urging the governor to veto House Bill 2096, which has kind of been called the government competition bill. You'll recall that Genesis Health Clubs in Wichita has long been trying to get some things made in their favor because they feel that they're unfairly having to compete against YMCAs, which do not charge sales tax or don't have to charge taxes. And so every year there's some version of something that they're trying to do that runs the risk of eroding the resources that you have to take care of services in your community. This was another one of those instances, and fortunately Governor Kelly vetoed it for the second year in a row, and I look for that to continue. I don't think the issue is going away, unfortunately, but I do think that this is something of which she has been very clear her position on, and we hopefully will not ever see that come into law while she is the governor. We also did not see anything happen on property valuation caps. While I know that that was not as large of a concern in this area of the state as others, there was a resolution that had passed the Senate that, had it passed the House, would have gone directly to the ballot box, which would have put some caps on how much property tax you could raise. And so that issue is not, your constituents may be sad that didn't go through, but it did not go through. And while that could continue to be a conversation, we'll put that in front of you if it continues to move forward for your feedback. The other thing that we were really working on and luckily did not pass out of local government committee based on feedback from all of you was the creating the No Impact Home-Based Business Act, which really would have removed a lot of rules and regulations around home-based businesses. So the concern there is, just allowing, suddenly you've got people doing things in their garages that you didn't intend to be happening in neighborhoods. And so that legislation did not advance in the House Local Government Committee. So that's just a tiny flavor of things. I'm happy to stand for questions. I've really appreciated the opportunity to work on behalf of all of you, and looking forward to continuing to discuss what you guys need as we head into now an election season where all 165 members are running for re-election. We know at this time that Senator Reichman and Representative Shannon Francis, who directly represent this area, are both unopposed. The deadline is Monday, June 3rd at noon, so we'll know kind of then what the lay of the land looks like, but that's the season of which we are entering now, and then of course going back for special session.
Any questions?
I had one. Senate Bill 468, I know it was never voted on. That's regarding the revenue neutral rate, if you like have IRBs, CIDs, things like that. Is there any traction at all for that for next year, or do you think it's dead?
So there were some changes made to revenue neutral in that you're going to continue to have counties reimburse for the cost of making those changes. And then they changed the wording in a way that is going to be, I think, largely favorable. Whereas before, you were penalized if you exceeded your revenue neutral rate actual. As I understand things, you're generally working your budgets based on an estimate. And so the language was tweaked so that you will be able to make decisions around your estimate, and you're not going to be punished if you exceed or if you don't exceed the estimates, but the actual ends up being a little bit less than what you were spending. So happy to put that information in front of you to review.
Okay, which it's good to know that, but on the question I asked was about that specific bill, that Senate bill. It's on your packet, it's noted. Do you think that there's gonna get any traction on that next year? Which basically dealt with like the tax split and how that could impact if the city does a RHID or an IRB or something like that it can affect your tax split or net revenue neutral rate.
So Senator Tyson is very committed to that legislation. So as long as she's there, she's going to continue to try and advocate. She thinks more can be done to contain cost at the city and county level. That is the position of Senator Tyson, who is the tax chair. You will continue to have folks like myself, the representatives at the league and the county, and even some of your chambers of commerce who are going to continue to talk about making sure that you are not punishing cities for growth, that you're able to have growth without having to stay within that revenue neutral. So that conversation's not going away. I think the tweaks that were made this year are largely for the benefit of cities and will make the process easier, but it's not something that I would safely say will be taken off the table. I think it's something we're going to continue to have to make sure does not get done in such a way that it unfairly impacts your ability to conduct business and for you to
Utilize tools for growth.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thanks.
This one's a little bit of a private question for Senator Tyson. Did she serve in a local entity before being elected? Would you know?
I am not, sometimes, I'm not aware that she did, but that doesn't mean that she hasn't, but I will check her and find out. But I've never heard her speak to that past local government experience, and typically, that it's nice. We do have several members of the legislature now that do have local government experience, which is very helpful in making sure that things are not enacted that do impede your ability to take care of your communities.
Okay.
Just a comment, I'm sure glad we have you guys in Topeka, raising our visibility level and protecting our interests. I know that it's something that was sorely needed, something that we, as a community, have ignored for years, and so glad to have you guys on board and representing us.
Thank you. We appreciate it and look forward to beginning those discussions now about what next year looks like as we kind of sort through where everything's at. Monday is, again, a key deadline for us because then we know kind of where those parts and pieces are. But we will see a lot of shakeups in December of committees. So even though right now we kind of know who's been on local government and who's been representing on tax committee and such, all of that will reset in December as well. So there's going to be a lot of unknowns right up until we get back to Topeka in January.
All I want to say is in conversation with different legislators, it's showing that you guys have been doing a great job and that you have been representing liberal to the best of your ability, and we are finally getting to be that squeaky wheel that might get some grease. So thank you very much.
Well, it is a marathon until it's a sprint, so I appreciate you running with us in this marathon, but we are committed to making sure that you get the love and attention that you deserve in this part of the state, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This time we'll move on to item number 8, the School Resource Officer MOU with USD 480.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and City Manager. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today. We're coming before you, the Police Department is, to ask for permission to sign into a memorandum of understanding with USD 480. We currently have two school resource officers that have been there throughout the entirety of the school year, starting last fall through the end of the semester. I want to say the 16th was the last day that they were in the school. When they're not in the school, they're working for us on the streets and or sometimes attending school functions as is necessary for the school district. A few of the highlights, the MOU actually requires us to provide one officer. We do have the two that we've mentioned. There is a call for up to three in that memorandum, and we would love to do that, but we don't have the staffing for that luxury at this particular point in time, but it is available. The dates of this current MOU would be August the 1st of 2024 through July 30th of 2025. The 480 does have input on the selection of the SROs. It wouldn't do us any good. It wouldn't do the SRO any good to be in an environment where the school district did not want that employee in the schools. So, we do allow them to have input on it. We do the ultimate selection, but they do have input. They have an option for the SRO during summer school. This particular year, I don't think that they've exercised that option. Typically summer school is mostly for the month of June. They have school employees and school functions going on. The MOU also covers duties and responsibilities, limitations for the SROs. Not everything that is in this document, are we happy with. We did have legal counsel review it. He made some suggestions. We went back to the school district. Their legal counsel made some suggestions. So neither side gets everything that they're asking for. I'm sure our legal counsel would tell me that there are a couple of things in here that he's really, really not happy about. But all we're doing is trying to codify the way that we're doing business with the school district right now. Things are working. We have, minor hiccups here and there. And frankly, it's more about vehicles, getting them in for service, how they're marked and stuff. The school district did a great job of going out and purchasing two better vehicles, had them marked similar to ours. Their color's actually red. So we call our SROs the firefighters of the police department. Please don't do that to them because they don't want to be identified as firefighters, but their vehicle is red like the fire colors are typically are. We do have a formal training class that we're attending with the school staff that comes up at the end of June. And then in July, we're probably trying to organize another an on-site training opportunity for our people with responses to the school for any type of active incident that we may encounter. And then the last thing is basically we're trying to do quarterly meetings now. That's more police administration as opposed to the SROs. But we're going to be doing quarterly meetings to meet with school staff to find out what their concerns are, see how things are going, and see if there are any things that we need to tweak or improve. So with that said, I'll stand for questions.
So is this, I'm assuming we've been operating with an MOU every year, or is this the first?
This is the first one that I've seen
Okay.
since I've been here, Vice Mayor. I don't know, I can't speak to what happened before, February of last year. But since I've been here, this is the only one.
Okay, all right. I was just gonna see if there were any changes, any major changes from one year to the next, but since we're starting from scratch,
Yes.
so
I think we were working under a handshake agreement.
I guess so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding of the Liberal Police Department to enter into an agreement with the Unified School District of 480 for the incorporation of school resources officers.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Landry and a second by Commissioner Warren. Any further discussion? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, cast your vote. All opposed? 5-0, motion passes. Okay, we will move on to item number 9, the animal control discussion. Oh, well, I guess we'll start with you.
I've had numerous concerns and phone calls and emails from people not happy with this new ordinance. The biggest complaint I get is that people say the people that are going to follow the laws are pretty much the ones that are going to follow through with it, and the people that typically don't are not going to obey this. So I guess I just wanted to bring it up for discussion again to see if that's something you guys would be willing to have a work session over, maybe to see if we can have a little bit more time to talk about this more in depth. Personally, myself as well as the pet owner, I think it's a little absurd that we have to have a yearly registration fee. I've had people from different companies say they're not able to get off work from 8 to 4:30 to come and register their dogs. So they would have to take PTO just to come and get that done. So like I said, I just think a yearly fee is just a little bit excessive. I don't know if we would be open to have a discussion and maybe doing it every 2 to 3 years. But I have been bombarded with calls, emails, everything from people in the community. I've also had numerous people tell me that they're not going to do it. So I just wanted to share all of these comments with you guys.
I guess my biggest concern with it is, I had 2 days ago opened up my garage and was met with, I don't even know what it was, huge dog and then a Rottie. And the Rottie was not a happy camper. And, they didn't look like dogs that were from the wild. They were somebody's dog. And you see people this time of the year that are out, running and walking, and they've got their kids out there. I've got a 6-year-old daughter, and if I'm doing something and she were to be away from me for a minute and one of these dogs came up, well, we got a problem, right? We have no recourse. And to go back on what people are saying about, well, I'm not going to follow law. Well, I guess it goes the same thing with the speed limit. You can say, hey, I'm not going to follow the speed limit either, but there's a repercussion for you not following the speed limit. I mean, there's something needs to be done because it's definitely out of hand.
No, I do agree that something needs to be done. I just think, like I said, like a yearly fee is a little bit absurd.
Yeah, I personally am fine with talking about, how we can change fees or whatever. I still think it needs to be done, and I think we've got a stray animal problem in town. I have a similar story to Matt's. It happened last week. We got a police officer at the house because we had a vicious dog who went after both my wife and myself. I don't see the problem getting better. So, while, I don't disagree with the fee thing, I think there's a need for doing it, and always, you end up inconveniencing the people who follow the rules. But I think we need to get a handle on it somehow. I mean, if it means discussing, lowering the fees or eliminating the fees, I don't really have a big problem with that. I think somehow we need to get a handle on this problem.
But see, I guess my concern there would be, okay, so we do have a dog, but if it's not registered at that point, then what would we do? Because I'm also hearing that we're only going to follow certain portions of the law. Like, for example, there's certain individuals in the community that have 6 dogs, but yet we're not going to enforce that part of it. So like I said, I just think we just need a little bit something more concrete, like where we're going to follow through with everything, not just specifics part of the
I don't
ordinance.
disagree with that at all.
Well, I think that one falls more under it. We will enforce it when they become a nuisance. But other than that, we don't have the manpower to verify who has 3 animals to a limit. But if it's a nuisance, then it does become enforced. Tara, Steve, would you mind coming up? I have a few questions. On the registrations, does that system allow, or would it be even viable? I do know you want yearly because of some of the yearly vaccines that are required,
Correct,
and it would help you have that up to date on there.
correct.
But is there any other way?
I guess my concern is their concern is the fee. It's $10. If you have your animal spayed and neutered, which probably should be at the rate we have puppies and kitties, it's $10 a year. If you can't afford to, I mean, that's not much in the scheme of owning an animal. So I understand there's a concern about the fee. I get that, but it's not astronomical. It's $10 a year. You're gonna pay way more than that for the rabies and the vaccines, which are required to register it. So we have healthy animals if they're out. How many dogs bites have we had this year? Quite a few. How many of them have had their rabies shots? very little. So we're trying to encourage people to be responsible pet owners, right?
At this time, there is still no partnership we can develop with at least the two vets that we have in town that they could update that system in any way, shape, or form. When people get their animals vaccinated, there's a connection between what they do.
I've never asked them for that. I mean, if that, we could try, I mean, ask them if that would be something they could do, but I guess it's still the same thing. You have to vaccinate the animal to get the tag, right? So you just have to bring me the piece of paper that the vet gives you with the tag showing that it was vaccinated. And we can do it at the shelter, super easy with that program that we got. It's gonna take like 5 minutes. Take a quick picture of your dog, so I have it in the computer, put in the rabies vaccine information, put in their tag number, and there you go.
Is it gonna have an option to do that online?
That is something I looked at. I just went to San Antonio for the Animal Care Expo. I spoke to a few vendors. That is something that I'm trying to figure out if there's an option that's cost effective. Obviously, you know, some of them are outrageous, to see if we can find some way to do it online. And the shelter's not only open 8 to 4:30 either. We're open till 6 o'clock at night.
Okay.
So, I mean, even if you work 8 to 5, that gives you an hour, and we're not that far out.
You
We're
got-
right past,
Are you guys open on Saturdays?
by appointment only right now, because I'm down to 2 ACOs.
Okay.
But once I get full staffed, which I have 2 hiring starting Monday, they're gonna start training. So hopefully in the next, it does take a couple months to train an ACO. That's a lot of techniques to learn, safe handling and stuff. So hopefully in a couple months, I'll be able to be back to 7 days a week once I have the staff.
So that gives us an option then on the other side. You know,
Correct,
that
Saturdays
Monday
and
through Friday,
Sundays,
I can't make
absolutely.
it.
Everyone at the shelter will be trained to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's worth exploring, you know, a relationship with the veterinarians, and getting their help in getting this done. And I also know that, you know, we're looking forward to doing a dog park. I talked to Steve today about it, and, you know, you can't introduce animals into a dog park that are unvaccinated. You know, so I mean, you know, that's a, you know, I think
It
that's
is
a
a huge
concern.
problem in this town, unvaccinated animals.
Yeah.
I will say that. Of the animals that we pick up as stray or roaming animals, very few of them are vaccinated.
Yeah.
So what would we do in the instance, for example, like if, you know, there's a pet owner and then the dog gets caught, but then at that point the pet owner doesn't want to pay the fees? What would we do then at that point? Would we still be able to give the owner a ticket even though, like, we don't have proof that it's theirs because it was never registered? Because at that point, I guess what I'm concerned of is people don't go register their animals. Then they're not going to come and want to pick up their animals
They
at the
don't,
shelter.
it's that way now. They don't want the ticket for dog at large, they don't wanna pay the
So they
redemption
just-
fees. I'm already sending an astronomical amount of animals to rescue every month. I mean, if I have to add a few more so they get a good home where they're gonna get vaccinated, they're gonna be taken care of and their owner wants to come get them, I'm gonna send them where they can have a good home. That probably sounds mean, but.
No, these are just.
I mean, these are
no.
my, once they come to the shelter, they become like my kids.
Yeah.
And if you're not gonna come get them, I really don't know that I want you to have them back if you don't care enough to come
Yeah.
get them.
No, these are just concerns from people.
And
So I wasn't able to be here at the last meeting, so I just wanted to be sure that I could bring it up.
Absolutely, I understand.
So I know there's a dog at large ticket that may or may not be applied in that situation, but is there a fee we can go ahead and apply? And again, this is still a conversation we're gonna have to have regarding the registration, because I still also agree that we need to move to a 2 or 3 year version. But I also want to develop a relationship with the vets
Yeah.
where maybe they can even access your system and take the photo for you or issue the tag if they're willing. That's a whole conversation separate. But where someone who doesn't register their animal, once we're caught, there's a fee, another penalty for not having a registered animal.
That is a penalty, isn't it? It's a new,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a fine.
That's the point.
Yeah, that's
The court imposes it.
Okay, the
If they're
court will.
convicted, they have to be convicted, just like dog at large, same thing, have to be convicted, so you have to have something that links the dog to an actual owner. Which, like Tara said, sometimes they have strays they pick up and they're obviously, they're at large, they're not registered.
They have a
don't
collar. You know they're owned, but
You know they're owned by
nobody
somebody,
counts.
but no one picks them up and no citations are issued, and then she tries to find a place for them, so.
Yeah, to give you a little perspective on the background of this, is these two sections were on the books before. At some point in the past, we got rid of them. So you had to register your pet, you had to license your pet. It's nothing different. The verbiage is exactly the same. So what would happen on the animal control side is they would write a ticket for a dog at large or not vaccinated, or not vaccinated, or even not vaccinated. So if you can imagine, the system is you order them, 301, 302, 303 in order, and you write a ticket based off of that. Well, when we wipe those off the plate, someone took 303 and moved up to 301. So renumbered the entire system. So then they would write a ticket, it'd go to court, and it wouldn't get prosecuted because it wasn't in the right format. And so this back and forth happened for, I don't know how long. I mean, as far as been around. And so that's where this kind of stemmed from. And so in order to fix it, we look back and say, okay, what are we doing? We're looking at not registering our pet, not charging a fee to get a tag. And the fee's arbitrary. I mean, that's the thing. It's set at $10. We don't even do our fee schedule until the end of the year. That could be a quarter. It's not about the money. It's about registering your pet for safety and also for health reasons.
And responsible pet ownership. I mean,
Exactly.
honestly, that's my biggest thing. Be a responsible pet owner. If you don't want them, don't get them. Because now they become our problem as taxpayers who are paying to find them homes, get them moved somewhere else.
So all these things can be addressed. That's not.
And the issue has never been the amount of the fee.
Well, that's what I just heard.
Yeah.
I heard that was.
The
one of
biggest
one of the
issue,
reasons.
and for some people who don't know the actual amount,
Right.
I mean, they've come
But also,
forward.
you look at also, as far as, we're looking at apps, we're looking at different ways to be able to accommodate and get people to register their pets. I mean, we currently register our kids for sporting events. That's not a problem. But we're asking people to show up to the shelter and register their pets. So we are looking at options. I mean, we're willing to hear anything out there. The surveys provide a lot of the information that you already know, so it's good information to read, things that we looked at and worked off of, so.
And I understand where you're coming from with the phone calls and the texts and the emails. I got it all.
Yeah.
I got it all. The shelter blew up. I
Yeah.
get it. But in the long run, we have to do what's gonna be best for the whole community, not just a few people that don't wanna pay $10. And if you get attacked by a Rottweiler, or your kid gets attacked by a Rottweiler, and I understand it may not still be registered, but at least we've done our part to try. We're trying to make everyone be responsible for their pets. So I feel like if I don't do anything, I'm contributing to the problem, not helping.
Sounds like part of the problem is just we're not communicating, with the courts, the animal control, law enforcement, veterinarians. Nobody's on the same page on this. It sounds like maybe if we just kind of put everybody in a room and let's kind of work through this to solve this problem. I mean, I've got a regular set of animals that roam my neighborhood, plus the one that tried to attack my wife the other night, and a pedestrian on 15th Street 15 minutes later. It's a big problem that I think we need to get a hold of. And I think maybe we just get everybody kind of in the same place and say, okay, what can we do? Is there a way that we can all kind of get on the same page? That sounds like that's part of the problem.
I think the problem with that is and I don't know if anybody responded to the dogs that you called, and hopefully they did, but it's the same thing that Tara said, is they take them and then there's no identification, there's nothing there, so then they can't hold the owner accountable.
Well, in
The
our
owner,
case,
so they come and get the dog, just says-
the police officers at our front door, while the lady was being attacked on 15th Street, the dog, they were able to get it, just lived a block away from my house, so they were able to issue a second offense for animal large to this person. And as far as I know, the dog's still in the backyard. I mean,
Yeah, if it's just at large, the judge won't do anything.
well, it didn't bite anybody,
Right,
thank
that's what I'm saying.
goodness.
If
I
it's
mean,
just at
it
large,
very
it's
easily
not-
could have.
There's no disposition of the dog, and the judge is gonna put it down for being at large.
I understand that. It's not what I'm asking for. I'm just saying, there's a lot of miscommunication
Yeah.
here, and the public in general is having to change, you know, we're a little bit more wary at our house now because of the 4 animals that are running loose in our neighborhood. Not to mention the fact that we go for a walk on 15th Street last night. There are 2 big dogs down by the hospital at 11 o'clock. We literally turned around and went the other way. Well, we're changing the way we run our lives because of these stray animals, and to me, that's just unacceptable. We need to do something about it.
And Jeff, how many times do you see elderly people walking with a golf club
Yeah.
or a
Oh,
stick
yeah, all the time.
or something in their hand? My wife takes our 2 little puppies, and she carries a big old knife. I'm like, take my gun with you. I mean, 'cause that knife ain't gonna do nothing. But you see elderly people walking all the time, and they're carrying.
You see a lot of people
Walking in the
walking with
neighborhood.
walking sticks on 15th
Carrying
Street.
sticks because of
Yeah.
dogs,
Yeah.
of course, out of nowhere.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that $25 to register a pet is the answer to this, but I think there's much more to it than
But
that.
it's only 25 if you don't have it spayed.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it's not the money. To
Yeah.
me, that's not the issue at all. Like Steve said, it could be a quarter.
I mean,
for-
if it
for all I
covers the
care.
cost of the tag, great, I'm good with it. As long as we can get people to do it, so I know whose dog it is when it's
Yeah.
changing your walking.
I would just like to see this, like you said, Jeanette, let's get together and talk about it, and let's see if we can
Yeah.
figure something out.
Okay.
I say we do that. We work on partnership with the vets. I'm not sure if maybe they're willing to take some of it on with some other conversation. That's one we have to have. If they don't approach, then we let the public know this is an issue.
Yeah.
But we move forward with ours. I think our biggest complaint we've had from people is just the yearly
The
renewal
yearly
thing.
thing, yeah. And how is the ordinance going to be
Of
enforced?
course, if we have the app still, I think that'll help a lot too. If you can renew on your phone.
What do you mean, how is it?
So that was another question I got a lot as well. How is the ordinance going to be enforced? So they're basically saying that it's only going to be enforced if the animals get caught, if they get out and then they get
Correct,
caught.
I'm not gonna go door to door. Is your dog registered? Is your dog registered? If your dog's at large and I pick it up, then yes, you're gonna get a ticket. Or if you're at the dog park and your dog doesn't have the registration tag and we notice it, yes. We don't have staff to go door to door and make sure everyone in town has done it. I can't. That's a lot of animals in this town, obviously.
I think that conversation, and we've had it on the morning show basically, is if you're dead set on not registering your animals, you know what, that's fine, that's on you, but when that storm comes through and knocks your fence down and you get caught, you've either lost your animals or you're gonna pay the fee for it. And I completely agree with that. And they have the right to choose if that's the direction they wanna
Just
go,
like
and
you
they're
said
willing to
earlier,
take all
you
those
have the right to
tickets.
choose to speed down Kansas Avenue, but when you get caught, it's on you.
That's right.
You don't have to register your pet, but when it gets caught, if it gets out, then that's your problem then.
Well, I mean, I do agree we have a problem. I'm not saying that we don't need to do nothing. I just think it would be good if we could have a work session or just
I
spend
think
some
it'd be
time
useful. That's
looking
fine.
into this.
Yeah.
I think it would be
that's a good
useful.
idea.
Who wants to approach the vets?
I'll do it,
I'll join you.
absolutely.
So
Let me know.
I guess I'm confused on why we need the work session, because we've already done all the work and we've presented all the information. Like, what are we missing? Like, why do we need to, I have zero tolerance for somebody who says, I'm not gonna do it. That's blatant disrespect to the city. But they don't do it, they get the fine. But what information do you guys need us to?
Well, I mean, if you can get the groups together, I mean, we don't have to do it at a work session, but, you know, I think, you know, I mean, you said the ordinance is off kilter. You know, I mean,
It's not.
Not anymore.
When we put this together, we met a year ago at City
been working
Hall.
on it.
Steve, Rusty, myself, Maxwell was there too. He was just kind of an observer because he he's the judge, he doesn't wanna be involved in that process, which was fine. And then I met with you 2 or 3 times in my office, talking about it and putting it together, so I don't think there's any breakdown in communication with.
So it's cleaned up now.
You're saying it was
If
before,
you can
right?
prosecute.
You guys fixed it.
A little before,
Some had
there's
been
some
taken
officers
out
that
of
were
it
writing
that
it
should've
under the
been
wrong
left in.
section because of that misnumbering, and so
Right.
that's why they fixed it. I think that's pretty much it, I don't think there's any.
So at this point, then we just wait to see if the technology is there to do kind of what we're looking for, and if we can build a relationship with the vets. The legal side is addressed with the new ordinance change.
Yeah, and we can tweak the ordinance, like if people really have heartburn about the number of pets, we can change it 3 of each type. I mean, if you want 3 cats and 3 dogs, I mean, we don't care. And she's not gonna go look in people's backyards, and we're not going cat snatching. I mean, we don't have time to.
The only reason that we ever use that nuisance law is if you don't keep your backyard clean, your neighbors complain about the smell. Your dogs are barking at 3 o'clock in the morning and your neighbors are complaining. It's a nuisance. If you have more than 3 animals and you're responsible pet owner and those dogs are taken care of and cats are taken care of and they're not barking and your yard kept clean, I don't care, have 6.
And we've
Take care of
had
them.
conversations specifically on that, because it's a presumption that it's a nuisance, but that doesn't mean it is. You can have 10 dogs in the city of Liberal at your home, and if it's, and that's a presumption, but if the person comes in and says, here's how clean it was, I don't have a neighbor next door that says that they're barking all the time, then it's not a nuisance, and they're gonna be found not guilty. So I've told Tara and her staff, I said, hey, look, if you're gonna look at that section, make sure that you're just not saying, well, they have 7 dogs, so I'm writing them a ticket.
It was a learning curve.
Because that's not enough.
Yeah.
So,
And when y'all talk about getting the groups together, what,
So that was earlier on between the court, the police,
oh, okay. The
vets,
stuff that we've already.
technology.
Minus the
Yeah,
vets.
correct. So in that case, we just need to make sure we've done as much communication as we can with the partnerships we hope to one day create, or maybe bring in.
And we have no issue spending money on I would really like it so they can do it. I can take a picture of Coop and I can upload his rabies vaccine and pay the $10 and.
Go pick up the tag.
Yeah.
And that'd be great, yeah.
I mean, there's little things in there, I don't like putting the tag on his collar, but I'll get over it. It's
So right now, Shelter Love does not have the ability does not have an app on the market. So that's who we use. It's a great program. It doesn't take long, easy to update. So it's something that we're gonna look at, absolutely. But I don't think there's any reason to wait at all. I mean, everything's in place, ready to go. You're not gonna burden them as far as time, as far as getting them, registered. And what that does is, it's the time that it does take to do that initially is gonna save on the back end when our ACOs are on the street identifying animals. So it's kind of takes care of itself.
you guys gonna be able to keep stats, so you can say a year from now after implementing this was the number of dogs we picked up that were registered, so then we could contact the owner instead of them sitting at the shelter for 5 days or having to adopt them out because no one showed up.
I can do that.
Yeah, unfortunately, even on the bite cases, we just start tracking that last year.
Right.
So,
With the new program, it's,
Yeah, it'd be
keeps
easy,
track of
right?
all that.
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Well, we'll continue the discussion, maybe not the next meeting, but like I said, let me know, and I'll glad
Yeah,
to
that's
join
good.
you with those conversations. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. Moving on to item number 10, city staff.
You know, I always got something. Just a couple of things. I want to thank the Parks Department, the cemetery guys, the fire guys for doing what they did Friday, putting flags out for the veterans. I got a lot of text messages, compliments on the cemetery this weekend. Just thank those guys for doing that. We got a huge baseball tournament be 2 weeks. The weekend of the 8th, he's got 30-plus teams
Wow.
already registered, from 8 years old to 18. So, it should be a lot of people in town. Some of them, there's a lot of teams never been to Louisville before. You got teams out of Denver. Look forward to that. Splash pads. I don't know if I updated you. The pool's gone. We've got the, over at McCray, we've got the sewer lines installed, the water lines installed.
On that, we did receive 608 surveys, so that's very good. For as long as the survey was, I knew a lot of people got started, got tired, and had to go back in. But we're glad that everyone took time to take that survey. We did additional outreach at National Beef last week. And so this week, we'll have some additional sessions for stakeholder meetings, similar to the exercise that we did as a group. So we've got about 60 people on that list we're trying to recruit in over 3 different sessions. One of those sessions is going to be in Spanish. Again, that's just one of those visioning kind of workshop exercise sessions. So we've talked with hundreds of people over the last several weeks, had a great turnout at the car show, and that was an excellent event to go do that. So again, we're just kind of closing in. After this week, we should have everything over to them for them to start doing their analysis, digging into the feedback, so they can start coming up with those ideas of how we want to prioritize and maybe look at specific projects that were identified by the community. So
they're Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday of this week.
Okay.
I do also have information on our Viewpoint segment with Dennis Quaid, which was done quite a while back. Reached out to them again, and they are planning to air that in June. So it's going to go out nationally in June. They're looking at a primetime segment, possibly June 19th, but they're going to give us 24 to 48 hours notice before that. So I'll watch for that, and if I see that, I'll go ahead and push that out. We've got a great commercial now, so it's good to have that, as well as some additional online marketing outreach that we can target towards attracting people to our community. So it's good to have that date finally.
Yes.
So.
Thank you. Item number 11, city manager report.
Really, really good sessions with the public so far. I'm real happy with the comments that we got and the feedback we received. I appreciate the candor of the committee members and those who attended those sessions. We got some good news last week. I don't think I can say it out loud just yet, but we got a letter of intent from a manufacturer that is going to go into an area out by the airport. So we're not just opening another fried chicken place. We have a legitimate manufacturing business that's ready to open their doors in Liberal. So we've been waiting a long time for that first domino to fall, and thankfully I think we're almost there. The repairs at the wastewater plant have hit a snag. The original contractor said he can't finish the job, so Walters Morgan has to go back and find another contractor who will come in and finish the job. But I mean, we're about it's not going to inhibit the quality of what we're doing. It's just it's like a rock in your shoe. Like, it's just not done, and we all want it done, and we paid to have it done. And but anyway, Earls and the GC are working through that. But and the railroad has proven to be another huge hindrance with the permit. I don't know if you want to, Brad, if you want to run that down for him real quick, of why the force main's not finished. And
So what's left on the force main is literally going under the railroad, under 54, and connecting the two pipes. So they approved us in the original plan in 2019. Now they're saying we're too close to the signal. And so we have to extend the line across 8th Street. The landfill's given us property easement there, and we have to bring it back in the main. To go back. So So now we had to reapply for the permit for the railroad and for KDOT. I'd like to say, now I don't know when it's gonna get done now. I mean, they gave us permission once, and nothing changed on our end, nothing changed on their end, and but now we're too far. Because we're sick of it. It shouldn't cost, I mean, lineal feet and everything's still the same. It's just, now Guardy's not gonna sit here and wait, they're gonna go do their other jobs. So then, when we finally get the permits, it's like, when are they gonna come back? I mean, it's the longest drawn out thing I've ever seen.
That's it.
Well, thank you. Item number 12, items from commissioners.
I'll start.
Okay.
Thank you to the city, manager. I never say thank you to you, so thank you for what you do. All law enforcement, emergency. It was a good Memorial Day weekend, so I hope everybody got time to enjoy their families and really enjoy their weekend. Nice long 3-day weekend for everybody. So nice weather. It's warm, and I guess we're supposed to get some weather tonight. So maybe we'll get some rain. None of the bad stuff, just the rain. Just the rain. That's it. So I don't have much other than that. So thank you.
I don't have much either. Thank you to the staff for what you do. Jessica, thank you for coming out, and thank you for what you do for us up in Topeka. It certainly is appreciated. That's all I have.
Well, I feel like Jeff just stole my.
That's what I was gonna say too.
Yeah, well, thank you. Sorry, I skipped Ron, didn't I? I got ahead of myself.
It depends how you wanna do it.
Okay, well, just want to say thank you to all the city staff for all of their hard work, and of course to the animal shelter for all your hard work as well. I don't want to come off as like I don't appreciate. I do appreciate it. I just wanted to share some concerns from our community. And of course, Watkins Public Strategies, thank you for coming out here. We really appreciate your presence. And all of the people who join us and come to our meetings, whether it's in person or live.
Yeah, I want to thank staff for everything, especially, like I say, the cemetery did look really good this weekend, and all the work I know they have to do to take care of that. Of course, even when it doesn't rain, it seems like the weeds grow, or I shouldn't say weeds, but I mean, stuff grows up around the stones, and I know that's a lot of work that you have to do. It looked real nice, and all the flags, it looked good out there, and we appreciate staff taking care of all that, and same with the animal control. I'll have to make my visit one of these days. I was sitting here realizing maybe my fee's $25. My dogs don't get out. I think I told you that, but one time one did, so I guess I have to make sure he behaved himself when he was out. But we may get that taken care of. But anyway, I appreciate everything you guys do, because I know it's a challenge, and I don't live but a block and a half from Jeff, so I probably see some of those dogs around, and I know I got one that barks a little bit at night, but when he barks more than a couple of times, then he wakes me up, and one night I know he wouldn't quit barking. I went out and looked, and I had 3 police cars in the alley. So I guess I don't know what they were doing. I didn't go out and bother them, but so I guess they're allowed to bark if they're warning their owner that there's somebody around the house, right? But anyway, we appreciate what you guys do, because I know it's a challenge, and we can hope that'll get better, but I know it's always going to be a challenge. So that's all I have.
Definitely, as always, thank you to the staff. Multiple hours put in every single day, evenings as well. Each department does more, less, in different times, in different seasons. So we definitely appreciate all you do. You have our support. If you need anything, just let us know. I know Rusty will definitely support you guys as well. Also, thank you, Jessica, for coming down in person, making those drives. I'm glad you drove too. When the Secretary of Transportation is here, he always flies, which, I mean, airport is part of his department as well, but I think you get to see also why we fight so hard for an expansion on 54. So it gives you that much more motivation now that you have to come out here. But thank you for all you do up there. And we're always there to help any of the staff for what you need. Please don't be scared to approach Rusty or approach any of us. And I know the public will beat up on all of us, but thank you for all you do. Moving on to item number 13, the vouchers.
I'll make a motion that we approve the vouchers in the amount of $1,256,722.10.
I second.
A motion by Commissioner Warren and a second by Commissioner Landry. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Same sign. 5-0, motion carries. We are adjourned.